Welcome to the WHL Playoffs, and my Calgary Hitmen are in it. So it's time to make another run for the Edge Health Cup here with another episode of, or I should say in this case, a new episode of Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. I just decided it's playoff time. Let's make a new intro with a new song there. So let's see if people like that. So yeah, welcome back to my YouTube channel and my Calgary Hitmen series here. And I'm going to call this my Calgary Hitmen in the WHL Playoffs here. But I'm still going to clump this all part of Season 1, what I've been doing here. So this is episode number 14. And this is my first round preview of the Eastern Conference Quarterfinals with the series between the Lethbridge Hurricanes and the Calgary Hitmen here. As before I get into my preview here, let's refresh the whole bracket here in the WHL playoffs here. As actually, if you recall, a couple days ago when I did episode 13, while the season was over, there actually was one more game that needed to be decided because actually a tiebreaker game was needed. So let's also find out who won that game and set up the whole bracket here for the WHL playoffs here. So let's bring out my notes here, or the website here. So this time I'm going to start west to east here. So in the Western Conference here, so if we go to the BC division here, Vancouver was in first place with 101 points, and that was the best point total in the Western Conference here. Second place was the Victoria Royals. They had 72 points here. And third place here, this was where the tie-break game happened. The Kamloops Blazers beat the Kelowna Rockets 5-1 here, so the Kamloops Blazers get to go into the playoffs while the Kelowna Rockets are out, because the wildcard spots actually were all claimed in the U.S. division here. So if we go to the U.S. division here, the Everett Silvertips were in first place with 99 points, followed by the Spokane Chiefs in second with 87 points, and then the Portland Winterhawks were third place for 86 points. So those are the top three teams in each division there in the Western Conference here. And then when it comes to the wild card here, the first wild card goes to the Tri-City Americans. They had 74 points. And the Seattle Thunderbirds, second place with 70 points. So yeah, tells you how much stronger the U.S. division was compared to the BC division here. So I had to set up the bracket here since Vancouver was the top team here, so they get to take on the second wild card. So Vancouver will be hosting the Seattle Thunderbirds, and the Victoria Royals will be hosting the Kamloops Blazers. So that's the bracket for the BC division. And then for the U.S. division, the Everett Silvertips will take on the first wild card. So the Everett Silvertips will be hosting the Tri-City Americans, while the Spokane Chiefs will be hosting the Portland Winterhawks. So that's the U.S. division bracket for the Western Conference there. So now if we go out east here into the Eastern Conference here, so we'll start off with the Central Division. This is where the Calgary Hitmen reside in. Well, first the Edmonton Oil Kings were in first place in the Central Division. They had 92 points. Second place, the Lethbridge Hurricanes with 90 points. And then third place, the Calgary Hitmen with 78 points. And then that's the top three in the Central Division. So if you go to the Eastern Division here, the Prince Albert Raiders were in first place by a mile with 112 points, followed by the Saskatoon Blades with 98 points. And then third place was the Moose Jaw Warriors with 88 points here. So when it comes to the wildcard here, both wildcard teams were claimed by Central Division teams. The Madison Tigers had the first wildcard spot. They had 76 points, and then the Red Deer Rebels had the second wildcard with 72 points here. So since the Prince Albert Raiders had the best record in the Eastern Conference and the WHL, but just look at the Eastern Conference here. They take on the second wildcard team, so the Prince Edward Raiders host the Red Deer Rebels, and then the Saskatoon Blades host the Moose Jaw Warriors. So that's the East Division, or the Central Division bracket in the Eastern Conference here. Yeah, the East Division bracket in the Eastern Conference. And then the Central Division, the Edmonton Oil Kings will be hosting the Medicine Hat Tigers. And then, last but not least, the Lethbridge Hurricanes host my Calgary Hitmen here. And this is where this playoff preview comes in. So that's the bracket as we go in for a run to the Memorial Cup. The Edge Cup first is the league title for the WHL. So you got the WHL champion, and then you got the OHL champion in the Ontario Hockey League, and you got the QMJHL champion in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. And then you have the host of the Memorial Cup, which is in Halifax this year at the Scotiabank Centre. It's where the Memorial Cup's going to be played. So the Halifax Mooseheads, I think that's the team, will be taking on the three league championships in the tournament there, and that's what will decide the Memorial Cup there. So you got to win 4 rounds to get to win the league championship, and then you got to go play 3 more teams in the round robin tournament to decide who gets to continue on and win the Memorial Cup there. So it's a little longer than the traditional 4-round playoffs here. So that's the bracket here. So now let's get back to the business at hand, and let's actually preview the first round quarterfinal series between the Calgary Hitmen and the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. So how do we get here? Well, the Lethbridge Hurricanes finished second in the Central Division. They had a 45-18-5-5 record for 90 points. While the Calgary Hitmen finished third in the Central with a 36-26-5-1 record and 78 points here. And there's a 12-point separation between the Lethbridge Hurricanes and the Calgary Hitmen there. So the Hitmen coming into this series will definitely be considered underdogs here, but playoffs, anything can happen here. So let's do a little bit of a history here. The Calgary Hitmen have actually won the league title twice. They won it in 1999 and in 2010. While the Lethbridge Hurricanes have won the league title once. That was done back in 1997 here. However, I'll give you the magnitude of how difficult it is to win a Memorial Cup. Neither the Calgary Hitmen nor the Lethbridge Hurricanes have won the Memorial Cup. Their closest each team has gotten to Memorial Cup, while the Lethbridge Hurricanes lost the final in 1997, and Calgary Hitmen lost the final in 1999. As I recall, that game was in overtime. And then in 2010, we lost the semifinal game. So that's the playoff history of the franchises in terms of championships and how they did it in the Memorial Cup when they got there. And as I mentioned, 2019 Memorial Cup is hosted at the Scotiabank Centre in Halifax, Nova Scotia here. So when it comes to playoff series history here, this is the 5th time that both the Calgary Hitmen and the Lethbridge Hurricanes are going to battle it out in the playoffs here. And the most recent series actually happened 10 years ago, back in 2009. It was the Eastern Conference Semifinals. The Calgary Hitmen swept the Lethbridge Hurricanes 4 straight there. This is back then they used the conference format where it was the top 8 in each conference, played each other, and then they reseeded in the second round there. At that time, the Calgary Hitmen was the top team in the Eastern Conference there, and we swept the Lethbridge Hurricanes, who actually were the 7th seed at that time. So it was a surprise they got to the second round there, but we swept them in the second round there. Maybe that was revenge from 2008 here, because in 2008 we lost to the Lethbridge Hurricanes as they swept us in the Eastern Conference Finals here. So this was the 3rd round. And at that time, the Calgary Hitmen were first in the Eastern Conference there. The Lethbridge Hurricanes were 3rd, so it wasn't as much of a surprise to have Calgary and Lethbridge play each other in the Eastern Conference Final there. But the Lethbridge Hurricanes swept us in 2008. I have before that. And then in 2006, in the Eastern Conference Quarterfinals, the Calgary Hitmen beat the Lethbridge Hurricanes 4-2 there. And this was, at then, they did the division format, which is what is used now. And at that time, the Calgary Hitmen actually was the second seed of the Central, beating the third Central team, Lethbridge, at that time. So the home team won in that case. And then in 2005, which was the first time both the Calgary Hitmen and Lethbridge Hurricanes have played each other, the Calgary Hitmen also beat the Lethbridge Hurricanes 4-1. This was also the conference quarterfinals in the first round here. It was the second seed versus third seed in the Central Division here. But in this case, the Lethbridge Hurricanes had the second seed there, so the Calgary Hitmen started on the road there, and then won it in 5 here. So overall, 3-1 Calgary when it comes to playoff history here. So this is the 5th chapter here. And now, if we take a look at the season series here, I mean, Lethbridge took 5 out of 6 games here, and they won the season series 5-1 here. But there was definitely a lot of goals in this series, as in total 59 goals were scored here. So I'd say take the over if you're figuring out, making predictions on how many goals will be scored here. So if we go back to Game 7 on Friday, October the 12th here, actually the Calgary Hitmen won the first matchup with the Lethbridge Hurricanes. It was 6-5. That game was here in Calgary. And then Game 14, Friday, October 26th. Actually, I went to that game, part of the Roughnecks night there, and it was definitely a wild one. We lost to the Lethbridge Hurricanes 7-6. That was here in Calgary. I do recall that game that Calgary got within a goal there in the third period there, but they kept fighting back. But fortunately, Lethbridge took away with this one and won that one 7-6 there. So 2 close games there. And then Game 19, this happened on Friday, November the 9th. The Lethbridge Hurricanes won that game 4-2 in Lethbridge there. So another close game. So 3 games have been closer than 2 goals here. And then Game 34, they played on Sunday, December the 16th. This was at the time the last game before the Christmas break there. The Lethbridge Hurricanes beat the Calgary Hitmen 6-4 in Calgary here. So you could say another close game here, but then the last 2 games here weren't so close. So Game 54 happened on Wednesday, February the 13th here. The Lethbridge Hurricanes beat the Calgary Hitmen 6-2 there in Lethbridge. And most recently, Game 66 was on Saturday, March the 9th here. The Lethbridge Hurricanes beat the Calgary Hitmen 7-4 there, so it was definitely a blowout there, and this game was still fairly fresh here. Calgary was down, 7-1 or 7-2 at one point, so I'm going to say definitely the season series went to the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. And then another thing we can also mention here is that the Lethbridge Hurricanes are actually coming into the playoffs on an 8-game winning streak here. While despite the strong second half that the Calgary Hitmen had overall to turn things around and finish third in the Central Division here, they're coming into the playoffs on a 4-game losing streak, including losing that blowout game against the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. So that's the scores and how we got there. So leading the way for players that led the way on both sides here. Well, Jordy Bellier, who actually is the Pittsburgh Penguins prospect, led the way with 7 goals and 6 assists in the season series for 13 points. And then recently signed Jake Elmer, who recently was signed with the New York Rangers here. He also had 4 goals and 6 assists in the season series there. So those 2 players stood out there for the Lethbridge Hurricanes. If you look at the Calgary Hitmen side of the puck here, Mark Kastelik led the way. He scored 5 goals and 4 assists in the season series, while Caden Elder, Jake Kriske, and Vladislav Lyraminko each chipped in with 6 points each. So the offense definitely still slightly favors Lethbridge in that front here. So when we break down the teams, both forwards, defense, and goaltending here, when it comes to the Lethbridge Hurricanes, their leading scorer was Nick Henry. He had 94 points to lead the team in scoring. But Lethbridge also boasts the guys of Jake Elmer, Dylan Cousins, Jake Lexington, and Jordy Boisvert, who are the top 5 in scoring for the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. And of note here, those 5 players alone had more points than our top scorers. So definitely Lethbridge has the offense there. And then when it comes to defense, Caitlin Addison actually has the lead in the scoring defenseman with 67 points, but they also have studs in terms of Igor Miroshchenko and Coltrane Wilson there. So they can definitely put up the points on defense too, and a couple guys you can eat minutes and have some sandpaper to his game, especially Coltrane Wilson there. So if you look at the Calgary Hitmen side of the puck when it comes to offense here, Jake Kriske led the team with 47 goals and 77 points. Well, so did James Mellon. He also had 77 points as well there. And then Carson Fook and Caden Elder also round out the offense, as those 4 players have scored 25 plus goals for the Calgary Hitmen here. Defense, I mean, definitely Igor Zambula led the way, but you also got Vladislav Yeremenko on the blue line there. So we got 2 guys who can do the job on the power play tier, but not as deep as the Calgary Hitmen. I mean, one guy who definitely can maybe provide some sandpaper and is a tall, smooth skating defenseman is Jackson Vandelees too, and he also has a nice, between 2 stick segments he does on Hitman hockey there. So that's the forwards and defense for both teams here. So when it comes to the goaltending here, it's definitely interesting that both teams both have used rookie goalies and are both local products for their respective teams here. As Jake Madonna for the Calgary Hitmen definitely emerged as the number 1 goalie, and Carl Tetyuk for the Lethbridge Hurricanes, who happens to also be from Lethbridge here. So if you look at the Lethbridge side of the net here, Carl Tetyuk in this season, he had a record of 24-9 and 1-1, and his goals against average is .288 and his saves percentage is .909, which is pretty good for junior hockey here. Against the Hitmen in the season series, Carl went 3-1. His goals against average was .366 and save percentage 887 there, but 59 goals scored between the 2 teams in the season series here. It was definitely not a series for the goaltenders here. As I mentioned, a Lethbridge-born guy. Jake Madonna for the Calgary Hitmen, or Jack Madonna, sorry. Jack Madonna, he had a record of 25-14, 3-1, and he had a .325 goals against average and an .888 save percentage, and actually at one time in the season, he started 21 straight games there. However, against the Lethbridge Hurricanes here, he went 1-2 with the .516 goals against average and .838 save percentage, and as I always mentioned, he's a local guy born here in Calgary. So definitely going to be interesting to see how goaltending is going to go for both sides here, but hopefully they can maybe figure out some of the offense that both teams can potentially provide here, but they might have to swallow some pride here, and I think their numbers will take a little bit of a hit there. So anyway, let's look at special teams here. The Calgary Hitmen actually had the 2nd best power play in the league at the 27.9%. And the penalty kill was respectful 8th in the top 3rd at 85.5%. If you look at the Lethbridge Hurricanes here, they also had a pretty good power play as they were 5th overall with 23.8%. But the penalty kill for the Lethbridge Hurricanes could be a little bit of an Achilles heel there. They were at a 76.5% efficiency. That puts them 17th, and there's 22 teams in the WHL there. So maybe there's something that the Calgary Hitmen could potentially exploit here. And I gathered all my information here from both the WHL website, WHL.ca, but I also discovered another nice website. I'll put them both in the description here, but dubnetwork.ca, DUBNETWORK.ca, we call it the Dub. Their article that I came across that covered this series actually went even more in depth than the league website. But the league website was made last week as opposed to the Dub Network. It was made, just yesterday. But that's where I gathered, all my information, and Then I took all the scores that I did from my previous recaps, and that's where we're at here. So let's recap the schedule here before I can do my what if scenarios and kind of give my prediction here. But so as I say, game 1 will be on Friday, March 22nd, and that game will be in Lethbridge at the MX Center, 7 p.m. puck drop. And in game 2, Saturday, March 23rd, will also be in Lethbridge at the MX Center, 7 p.m. puck drop. And in game 3, when the series shifts to Calgary here, that will be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome on Tuesday, March 26th. And then game 4, Thursday, March 28th, will be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome. So those games will happen regardless of what happens. But game 5 will go back to Lethbridge here on Saturday, March the 30th, and at the Nicholas Sharon Arena, which I actually found out whereabouts it is, because the MX Center, where they primarily play, is near the college, and apparently there's a men's championship curling that will happen in that facility there. So the Nicholas Sharon Arena will be a temporary home for the Lethbridge Hurricanes should this series go beyond 4 games here. And actually, I saw the capacity is only just under 1,000, and actually that's in the west part of the city near the university there, if you're familiar with Lethbridge there. So that's game 5. That's, of course, if it's needed. Game 6, if it's needed, will be Saturday and Sunday, March 31st, back in Calgary. That'll be a 4 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and if this series needs to go the distance for game 7, the deciding game would be on Tuesday, April 2nd, back in Lethbridge at the Nicholas Sharon Arena, 7 p.m. puck drop. And then, of course, when setting up the bracket here, the whoever wins this series between the Calgary Hitmen and the Lethbridge Hurricanes here will take on either the Edmonton Oil Kings or the Madison Tigers in the second round there. So when it comes to, let's say, what if, well, I mean, Lethbridge is definitely the favorite here, and they'll definitely win the series if they definitely take advantage of home ice and definitely use their powerful offense to their advantage and continue to get strong goaltending from Carl Tekiak. That's basically all I could say. The Lethbridge Hurricanes will definitely win this series if what kept them successful in the season series was propel them to win this in a short series here. The Calgary Hitmen will definitely have to find a way to win, as if both combination of, let's say, if we can get timely offense from our offense, if our, I mentioned the special teams numbers there, if we can potentially exploit the penalty kill that the Lethbridge Hurricanes are a little weak at, but let's say if Jack Madonna can, really stand up in this series, and if you get timely depth scoring here, I could see, the Calgary Hitmen can make this a longer series here. I could see this series either being a short one going the Lethbridge Hurricanes' way, or this be a long series that if we can get it to a game 7, anything's possible here. When it comes to my final prediction here, well, the Dub Network actually gave his prediction, and they said the Lethbridge Hurricanes will win this one in 6 games. Me personally, I know this is my Calgary Hitmen series, and I'm wearing all my Hitmen gear here, but my honest opinion is, and I think it's going to be Lethbridge in 7 here, just given all the facts presented to me. I mean, we had a couple close games with the Lethbridge Hurricanes here, but we definitely have had some games where we lost big there, especially in Lethbridge here, and definitely we need to take one at least in Lethbridge in the first 2 games to have a chance here. I mean, if we're down 2-0 coming home here, I'm almost going to say this series is all but over here. But if we come in to Calgary tied at 1, I can think we might have a chance. Heck, it would definitely be a huge bonus if we come home up 2-0, but we'd still have to keep the foot on the gas that would have kept us up 2-0 if that scenario happens, because I still think Lethbridge would still have the ability to come back against Calgary if the scenario comes as that we're up 2-0 coming home here. I would say I definitely like Lethbridge's chances of coming back from 2-0 down if that was the case as opposed to Calgary. But I think this is either going to be a short series with Lethbridge winning, Or I could see this be a long series where the Hitmen play a strong series, or I think they could still be able to be capable of pulling off the upset here too. But I'm looking at all the facts that's presented to me and how strong Lethbridge has looked down the stretch here. I mean, Lethbridge was definitely a much better team here down the stretch than the Calgary Hitmen were, but I still say, considering where the Hitmen were last year and how we started off very slow here, there's still nothing to be ashamed about here, but that's definitely my take on the whole series and my preview here. I've tried to cover as much as I can, and this is all junior hockey, and as I say, the second season is beginning here, starting tomorrow. Well, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along here. And I have all my videos, obviously my Calgary Hitmen recaps in this playlist here, and this is episode 14, so episode 15 will be a recap of this series, and hopefully, things work out well for the Calgary Hitmen. That we'll be talking about a first round upset here, and we get to move on here, but I'm going to say the Calgary Hitmen will definitely need to overachieve, in my opinion, to be able to advance to take on either the Edmonton Oil Kings or the Madison Tigers here, because the other piece of this season series is I felt the Calgary Hitmen played well against teams in other divisions except their own. So, I never know. It's playoffs. Anything can happen. I mean, I think one way we can maybe potentially steal one in Lethbridge here, let's say if we had a tight game that broke the season series trend here and had a low scoring game and then went to overtime, and if Calgary scored, like, could say, a dirty goal in overtime here, that'll definitely change the complexion of the whole series here. But it's all speculation right now, but that's why they play the games, as they say. So anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully I'll pass on some good news about the Calgary Hitmen, and the next episode won't be my last episode on this Calgary Hitmen series for season 1 here. So thank you, and I'll see you again.